Everyone, this is Richard, and welcome back to Tredroy Shadows. We'll be using Macchiato monsters to explore an old GURPS setting known as the city of Tredroy from the 90s. And I've got a great set of players here, and they'll be briefly introducing their characters and kind of getting into the very first bits of pieces they learn about the mystery that we're going to be exploring. They are vigilantes in the city of Tredroy. And I want to remind everybody that this is a Gauntlet Hangouts game, so we'll be going by the Gauntlet inclusivity policy. And the X card is on the table. I think all my players know how to use the X card and are familiar with the X card. But if you run into a situation where you would want to use the X card, clearly it's a slightly different context that we're not in a tabletop game. So you can say X card, you can hold up your hands in an X, or there is on our die roller, there is an X card button that should form a pop-up on everybody's screen. Once you X card something, we will sort of quickly identify what it is and then move on from there, moving past it like it didn't happen, or sort of kind of editing it, sort of deleting it out of the game, because we want to make sure people feel comfortable and that the game is a safe space for everyone. That said, I am going to we've been kind of using a beyond the wall style scenario pack module to develop this mystery that our vigilantes are confronting. So we are going to start with the first character who has learned something, Jacob bin Bezalel. Am I saying that correct, Horst?
Yeah, Ben Bezalel.
Bezalel. You're a mystic. You live in the Jewish quarter in North Tredroy, and you investigate things for the chief rabbi, Cardin Barlello. And here in Tredroy, and about 3 weeks ago, messenger came and found you in North Tredroy, leading you all the way across the bridge to the west. We're on the banks of the Lorraine River, near the docks. Was found the body of a cousin of yours. What was that cousin's name?
Let's see. 1 second. Her name is Batsheva.
All right. The body was badly mangled and was not and it looked like it had been just sort of badly hurt or wounded. When you claimed the body and brought it back to the Jewish quarter for burial, was your cousin an observant Jew?
I think so.
Okay. You noticed, and you have a lot of training in pragmatic magic, in addition to being a mystic. You notice that the heart was missing. There'd been much done to sort of stitch her chest back together. But as you looked, you examined and found her heart was missing. And in its place was what looked like a cobblestone or a street stone of some sort that had the word Umgazar written across it. You recognized, or sorry, I'd like you to, Jacob, I'd like you to roll and try to equal or get under your intelligence. And yeah, roll and see if you can get equal or under your intelligence.
I've got a 6 on 13.
A 6 on 13. Yeah, you recognize that the name inscribed on the stone is a dark, dark form of magic. That you've only heard legends about. And it's been used by fundamentalist, sometimes puritanical groups, not groups of separatists, but groups who are sort of nationalist or religious supremacist. And they always do it to somebody who's outside their community. That it is it's a type of way opening ritual. It's supposed to open doors. It's a kind of sacrificial ritual in which you open doors that have been closed to you by harming people who are outside your community, to sort of access something that you have set aside for your community for later use. It's a dark, dark, dark form of magic, and that it happened to a family member of yours, a cousin, is particularly upsetting and painful. I want to move on because I think this is sort of something that sort of inspires you, I would hope, to take a deeper look into things going on. But I want to move on to Salas. It's May in Tredroy, which is usually a relatively nice time of year. The wind is not too warm yet, but the dirty snow and ice that sort of blockades the junction of the two rivers has begun to break up. But not only are there still sort of visible signs of frost and ice along the docks, at night, there's even still some nights snowfall. And it even still gets cold enough that that by morning the snowfall is not gone. Salas, you work late into the night, do you not?
Yeah, whenever they need me.
Right. So people have been talking and you've been overhearing. I'd like you to make a charisma check. And I think this fits into your role in the house as the pleasure house enforcer, as various customers have been talking. And why don't you do that at advantage?
So yeah, that would be a 6 on a 11.
11. Yeah, so that's great. So Salas say, you're hearing rumors of certain people in various parts of town who've, and no one can quite say who, no one will pinpoint, who've been watching the skies. And any night you get snowfall, apparently there's a small group of the Knights of St. Christopher who dispatch people out of town. Now, the Knights of St. Christopher are, beloved by pretty much all the people of Tredroy. I mean, they're anti-crusader. They're loved across Tredroy. So it's strange that you'd hear this sort of dark rumor about them. They don't tend to gather dark rumors around them, but you've heard of at least some of them who have sort of gathered sort of a dark sense of rumor about them. Irin, you work for the Emir of North Tredroy, the governor who governs the Al-Wazif side of North Tredroy. It's one of the most diverse areas in the city. It's got a large Christian population, a very large Muslim population. It's got a very large Jewish population. And one of the areas known for its incredible tolerance, at least of religious difference. But for the past 2 weeks, since the time the new moon crossed the sky, you've been having terrible dreams that you can't remember. And I'd like you to make a wisdom check. And tell me how you do.
Let's see. I rolled an 8. Memory serves, I believe her wisdom is an 11. Yes.
Nice. Congratulations. You remember 2 names from your dream. And let me get one of those names for you. 1 second. You remember 2 names, Umgathar and Karthrak. And these keep showing up in your dreams. But you can't remember much else about what you've seen, but you know that you've woken up sweating and frightened with your pulse racing several times since the new moon crossed the sky about 2 weeks ago. Alba, this was just last night. When you were in and finally drifting off to sleep, when you heard a scream, and you are an escaped slave who lives in the Cardiel side of Tredroy, which is also a very diverse area. And this is of the city that kind of crosses 3 national boundaries. This is the one that ostensibly has the larger Christian population, but also has a fairly large population of agnostics and Protestants, and also has a very large Chinatown. And you've been living among the Chinese since you escaped your slavery in North Tredroy. And as you went to sleep last night in the wee hours of the morning, you were pulled awake by two sensations. One was a scream that you recognized as your friend Nieudan, who is a food vendor or a noodle vendor in Chinatown. And you smelled a terrible smell that smelled like burning brimstone, which is in one of the niches that the China, that Chinatown has started to fill is they handle a lot of artificing, and it's not unusual to smell burning chemicals during the day, but at night the smell of burning sulfur or brimstone is unusual. I'd like you to Alba, to make a dexterity check.
Okay. Ooh, that was a high roll. Let's see what my dexterity is. I did not make it. I rolled a 15 against a dexterity of 14.
Wow.
It's my best number, too.
I apologize. That's rough. You find Yuyan passed out, clearly from shock or surprise or something. Alone, near an intersection where not far from where you've been staying, near the street of gadgeteers or the street of artificers. And this morning, not really wanting to talk about or say anything more about what caused her to faint or pass out in the street, much less to cry out.
Doesn't want to talk about it.
Does not want to talk about it. Won't really say whether she doesn't remember or whether it was too frightening.
Well, I'm I'm pretty charming and pretty caring, and I don't know. I mean, maybe I can make her feel comfortable enough that she'll actually talk about it.
Why don't you make that charisma check?
All right, let's see what we can do here. Seeing as how I botched the last one. No. I rolled an 18 against a charisma of 13, I think.
I think as you push it, she starts to she sort of feigns busyness and sort of pays attention to other customers.
Okay.
But she packs up early that evening and sort of seems to go home. There doesn't seem to be much light on in her place.
Huh. Well, right. So I'm near her place, and I can see that there's no light on, even though she seemed to have gone home. Well, heck. You know, it sure seems like she's in trouble, and and if she didn't actually, I'm not gonna break into her place, am I? Okay. Yeah, I mean, I'll look around a bit to see if I can.
I'm gonna switch scenes really quick as you're lurking outside of Yuyan's shop. Jacob, your family has had a rough few weeks. What do you think has led you to East Tredroy?
To East Tredroy or North Tredroy?
Well, you're in North Tredroy, or I'm assuming you are.
Yeah.
That is where the largest Jewish quarter is. I mean, there's a Jewish sort of neighborhood in pretty much every of the 3 districts of the city. I almost called them quarters, and that does not make any sense. There's only 3 of them. What do you think will have led you to East Tredroy?
I think Jacob is fascinated or obviously shocked by the death of his cousin. So, is it fair to assume that there might be like a maybe a Protestant congregation or I don't know, like a library focused on religious texts where he could investigate the name Umgazar?
There actually is. There is a Protestant church and academy that is actually, I mean, the very near Chinatown. There's Protestant churches and academies all over North and East Tredroy, but there's one with a very famous sort of library near Chinatown. It may not have the same sort of volume of work as the library, as the university, which you definitely used the university library before, or of several things on Temple Street. But they have a unique collection. Do you think you've used this church before, or this library?
Maybe the reason why I picked that church and that library is that it might be specialized in apocryphic scriptures.
That actually makes very good sense.
I also took the stone with me in order to maybe find an expert or even compare the stone or the inscription, like the inscription itself. How is it applied?
The inscription is carved in.
just carved?
Yeah, it's chiseled in, not expertly. It's not a graceful job, but it is chiseled in.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, given that I have been there before, maybe I recognize someone in the church, like a kaplan or a student or a scholar.
There's Protestants in Tredroy make a lot of their money, or a lot of their sustain their relatively small congregations by running very large and very popular schools. So I think, are you going during the day, or do you want to sort of quietly go at night? There will be students around during the day.
Yeah, I might go during the night to
Okay.
maybe like have the place quiet, or maybe have private time with one of the scholars.
Gotcha. So let's say, you've heard strange rumors, and you're certainly not above investigating strange rumors, especially since fundamentalism seems to be afoot. What would lead you into East Tredroy?
Perhaps one of the workers of the pleasure house asked me to escort them
Oh, that's yeah.
out of East Tredroy into North Tredroy so they go to work.
Are you escorting them out, or are you escorting them home?
What time of day is it?
It's evening right now.
I would probably be escorting them to work then.
Okay. You've gone to get them and are bringing them back.
Mhm.
And Irin, what's taking you to East Tredroy tonight?
Well, I would say that she's become sort of she's gotten out of sorts about these nightmares, because this is not something that's usual for her at all. And she is trying to, as covertly as she can, because she's a little embarrassed about it, trying to find any mention of those two names that kept recurring. She's going to some of those, some of the libraries that she is able to get access to through her work with the governor.
Okay.
And sort of like basically flipping through whatever books look like they might be helpful, to see if she can find any mention of Ungathar or Kothrak. And if she can't find any in the books on herself, she will try to maybe get some advice from some of the scholars that she's worked with or maybe done favors for in the past. And she'll make it seem like this has to do with something she's working on for the governor.
Nice. Okay.
So if you can't find it in the book, she's chatting up the other more dedicated scholarly types to see if they know and see if they've seen anything in there that she might have missed.
So I think much like Jacob, you've things have led you towards the library of the Genevan Church and School. Which is a Protestant congregation that's known for the extensive and unique library. As Jacob noted, they have a big library of apocalyptic literature, and they are near Chinatown, and have primarily French and English speaking congregation, but a small Chinese congregation. But I think Chinatown sort of grew up around their historic church, where they've been for a couple of hundred years, or it kind of expanded towards where they are. And it's not far, I think, from where Yuyan lives. And I'd like, Alva, you've been scoping out Yuyan's house. What have you been sort of doing? Are you just sort of kind of working the perimeter of or not her house, but sort of her apartment building, or her tenement building? What have you been doing to sort of scope this area out?
Yeah, I think like I said, I think there's a ton of sort of corruption. The merchants are forced to pay protection money, and I think what's going through my head is, somebody's trying to shake down Yuyan or something like that. And I think maybe there's ways that markings that people make on like door frames or things like that to indicate, you've paid for the month, or you've we're coming for you, or something like that. So I think I'm just sort of looking at her apartment to see if there's any anything that would give me concern that she's being people are coming down on her for payments or something like that. Whether there's any signs of like forced entry or any kinds of markings or something like that would indicate.
Does Yuyan live alone? Does she have a family? Does she have a significant other?
Yeah, I think she lives alone.
Okay. And so you're sort of you've got inside the tenement building and you're looking at Yuyan's sort of door from the inside. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Maybe she keeps her like accounting with like tally marks or something like that on the inside of her door, or on the inside of her wall, or something like that. So I'm looking at that kind of thing. And I'm I've got a clerical past. I'm going to be able to make sense of, her record keeping. I'm looking for anything that looks like an economic problem, or
you're standing outside her door. Were you planning to just sort of like gonna pick the lock and get in?
Yeah, I think I might even know her well enough to know where she hides a key or something like that.
Make a charisma check, just on knowing her well enough to know where she does that.
Okay. I will. Oh, I rolled a 20. That's a botch, isn't it?
That is that. Yeah. Wow. Okay.
We're gonna have to talk to Shane about this dice roller.
I know, right? Alva, I think as you you lean down to sort of find the key, and this is where you've been told to look for it, or where you would guess you need to look for it. And you smell brimstone sort of drifting out into the hallway, that thick smell of sulfur that woke you up last night.
Yeah.
And you are not near the Street of Artificers here. In fact, you made your way into, just kind of jumping around though, you made your way into Yuyan's apartment last night with the key that she uses to unlock her door, that she kind of hides. It is not there tonight. But
the brimstone smell is coming from somewhere.
Smell has, and it's all of a sudden started, like you've been standing outside her door for a moment, when drifting under, kind of through the boards of that door or the wood of that door, it just hits you. From the direction of her, from like it's coming from, it seems to be kind of like coming out of her apartment.
Okay, so I'm knocking on the door. I mean, I'm knocking, insistently. I'm calling her name,
Irin and Jacob, what do you do when you see each other both moving towards the school library at night? You recognize each other right away. Is your last memory of working together one of like, man, we worked that out so well together, or is it like I'm glad we were together, but I'm sort of embarrassed by how poorly things went? What do you think?
I think the last thing we actually attempted to cooperate on did not go well. We attempted to mitigate a cross-sectional dispute, and none of the parties walked away thinking that the matter was resolved, and it's basically it keeps rearing its head again and again.
I also think that it didn't affect like our personal relationship. It's just that we represent different, factions,
different interests. You definitely see each other, and then you both notice, kind of at the same moment, you see two things, or you sense two things. You see people ahead of you step out, sort of out of an alleyway, or the shadows near an alleyway, and move briskly towards the door of the school, kind of avoiding the door of the church. And the school seems to have a light on or lamps lit as if it's expecting somebody to come. And these shadowy figures sort of let themselves into the doorway of the school and then close it behind them. Say about half a block ahead of you. And then you hear something like leather flapping or the wings of a very large bird. And you hear glass breaking.
From the direction of the school?
From the direction of behind you. From the direction of the street away from the school. Towards one of the small side streets, towards one of the tenement buildings. And then both of you, before you can even sort of greet each other, you hear these things, you see the people step out, and you smell the intense smell of burning brimstone.
Do we normally associate that with the devil or something, or like demons?
I think both of you would have that association of brimstone and hell. I think that's moderately common.
And can we trace the source of the smell into a certain direction?
It seems to be coming from the sound of breaking glass. The wings stop. Glass breaks. And what are you doing? Are you looking around? Are you?
Irin is looking in the direction of the glass breaking. Can she see the building where she thinks it came from?
Jacob, what about you? Are you doing the same?
Yeah, I think Jacob turns around as well. He thinks that the brimstone is the most pressing matter.
Both of you make wisdom checks.
I've got an 8 on a 15.
I've got an 8 on an 11.
Awesome. Both of you see what looks like a very large winged figure. You'd almost swear horns, but it's hard to see from behind. Kick in a small window in a tenement building. You're looking in shadows, and it's not terribly loud. You know, if you were not if you were not just right here, you probably would not distinguish it from any other weird noise in the city at night. You know, people break windows all the time, but the window breaks, and whatever this thing is, it seems to fold in on itself and sort of go into that window. Irin.
Yes.
You are, sorry, not Irin, sorry. Salas. You are walking along with this worker that you've agreed to escort. When you see a group of men who don't seem to see you, conferring with each other. And if you were at another angle, it would probably all be in shadows. But the low lantern lights that are kept at street level are providing just enough light from the angle you are at. They make some sort of gesture or sign towards each other that you don't recognize. And then three of them break off and go towards what looks like a school building, one of those Protestant schools. And another one stays on the street and looks off in a direction. And then from the direction he's looking, you hear glass breaking. What are you doing, Salas?
I think I'm worried about the girl because I'm afraid these might be the Protestant fundamentalist.
Right.
They might be patrons of kinsmen, and
Right.
I'm worried that they may try something. So I probably try to, as we're continuing on our path, to try to circle around the one that's left. Telling the girl, don't make eye contact. Just keep your head down and keep moving.
Sounds good. I'm going to come back to you on that. Alba, you're outside that door when you smell that, and you can't find the key, but you hear glass break inside. What do you do?
Yeah, so at first I was knocking really loud, Nieudan, but if I hear the glass breaking, well, I've got my maul, and I can easily just I can probably just barely tap this lock, and
oh yeah,
boom, the door's open. So,
good.
so I can enter. I'm entering at that point.
And you've got your maul out. And let's just make a strength check to see how kind of fast you get this door, how fast and how noisily you get this door open.
Okay. Let's see. Why don't we get rid of some of these unlucky dice here?
That's wise.
Because they're totally bringing down my mood. There we go. 12 under my strength of 12. So I matched my strength.
Okay. You match your strength, which is fine, and it pops open, but it is noisy. And you hear the sound of people moving around in the neighboring apartments. But it comes open fast and flies open. And standing in front of you, Alba, is what you can only imagine people describe as a demon. And it's standing in complete shadow.
Oh, wow. Anything else going on? Is Nieudan in here? What's up?
The entire apartment is dark, or the room is dark. And you can hear what sounds like a quiet crying. From under the bed.
All right. Well, a demon, eh?
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold my maul with the head forward and just try and shove it back out the window.
Nice. Okay. Let's roll that strength check.
Let's do that. Oh, I rolled an 18. I did not succeed.
You come at it, and I think it catches the end of your maul. And what's your strength score?
It's a 12.
It's a 12. Okay. You come at it. It catches the end of your maul in its hand, and just sort of pushes it down to the floor, so that your arm is sort of like spinning wildly away from you when you thought it was going to be moving towards the demon. And Alba, it strikes you across the back of the face. And do you wear any armor?
I do. I've got a leather coat. It's a DR4.
All right. Roll your DR4.
I rolled a 1.
This is going to make a big tear in your leather coat, but it's going to keep it from hitting you in the face.
Okay.
And I'd like you to roll a D10.
Okay. I rolled a 5.
So you'll take 4 damage. Yeah, your coat got a little bit of that before whatever this thing is in its long claws just sort of ripped your coat, kind of the back away from the sleeve, which is frustrating, I'm sure.
Okay, so do I have the opportunity to do anything at this point, or
actually, but I was going to ask real quick downstairs, Irin and Jacob, what would you like to do to? You've seen this. You've seen people go into the school. What's your goal? What would you like to do?
I mean, we also have seen the leathery figure climbing through the window in a.
And you hear a fight break out. You hear something impact.
I look at Irin,
mm-hmm.
and I say, "We need to drive this devil out. Follow me."
What's your strategy for getting in?
Isn't the door like smashed in?
There's a window smashed in. It's on the second floor. It's a tenement building, so you can get in from the street level. That may be slow. So that just are you trying to go try in the door? Try another way.
Irin's going to try and basically do a quick scramble up to the window itself. Okay. And she's going to point toward the door and say, "Rabbi, if you would come up the other direction, perhaps we can flank this thing, and maybe scream for the watch, because we're probably going to need a lot of help." And she starts yelling for the watch as she's scrambling up the side of the building as well. "Oh, the watch!"
And now you see people sort of fumbling for lanterns, or you hear people fumbling for lanterns, and you hear people trying to pull things away from windows so they can open them. And Jacob, what are you doing?
So we are on the back side of the building, I assume. So
Yeah.
the main door. I try to walk quickly around the building block or the building.
There's a back door to the tenement.
Oh, there's also a back door.
Yeah.
I'll check if it's locked.
No. I mean the Tredroy landlord sensibility is it's the tenement's responsibility to lock their own doors inside.
Yeah, then I'll walk in and look for the stairs.
Jacob, I'd like you to make a dexterity check to just kind of keep your pacing. And Irin, I'd like you to make a strength check. As you start to make a wide berth around the guy in the street, you hear him hiss and sort of curse. And start to fumble with something in his jacket. Salas. How do you guys do on those dexterity and strength checks?
Irin got a 3 out of 11.
Nice.
And I've also passed with flying colors.
Brilliant. Irin, you're just sort of pulling yourself up on the windowsills.
Yeah, just basically scrambling.
You get up there and you see whatever this thing is, it's fighting with Alba.
Okay, my eyes pop for a second.
Because
I didn't know Alba lived here.
And then you see a woman sort of like turn the bed up. And Alba's clearly been hit. Like Alba's coat is ripped. And there's a woman sort of hovering behind the bed who's sort of like flipped the bed up and is kind of crouched behind the flipped up bed. And you've just climbed up. What would you and Alba, what would you like to do?
Is this thing actually a demon? Like when she comes up, does it look like basically a demon?
It smells like brimstone and it looks a lot like a demon.
All right, then Irin is going to draw her dueling pistol and plug this thing.
Okay. That is going to be noisy.
Oh, yeah, she wants to make noise. She wants to draw attention. She wants to get more people here to help.
Right. Okay.
And she will pretend it's magical if anybody asks.
Right. In close quarters, I will let you know that this thing may, if something botches or goes terribly wrong, you may hit the wrong person or thing. So why don't you roll dexterity?
Okay. Okay, that's a 14.
Out of...
Oh, hold on just a second. My dexterity is 14. Now I got to roll.
Oh, sorry.
Ooh, 18. Yikes. Is this something where I can try and use something to gain advantage, or do I need to state that before I try and roll it?
What would you have used to try to gain advantage?
I was going to use her drive, the better part of valor. She does not want to close with this thing. She wants to basically, get it from a distance.
I'm gonna, since this is your time to use it, I'm gonna, since the drive and are sort of one-time things, I'm gonna kind of cross your drive out. But you're good, yeah. Go with it.
All right. So that roll was an 18. The reroll is a 1. I will take that 1.
Nice. Okay. Whew. I think let's just roll your damage and then we'll double it.
Okay. Let's see. If memory serves, the pistol is a looks like a 6d6.
Great.
You want me to roll 2d6?
Yeah, roll 2d6.
Okay. 10.
10. Nice. One sec. Let me. You see Alba, you see the demon's back arch, and you hear a very loud explosion from where you saw Irin come in the window. What do you do?
Yeah, so I've got this sort of torn coat. I think I'm gonna try, another angle on what I was trying before. I'm gonna try and throw the big torn coat over the demon, and I'm gonna try and shove it out the window then. Having sort of bound it up in the coat a little bit.
So you're pretty good at. It's not hard for you to get the coat over its head. Being as dexterous and swift as you are, it's a little tougher for you to get the shove in. So I'm going to have you check strength.
Okay.
If it helps, Irin will. If it looks like he's like basically barreling into the demon, Irin will drop. Irin will drop to trip it so that it would stumble out of the window.
Okay. You've already kind of done something, so I'm gonna.
Okay.
I'm gonna see how this goes.
I rolled a 3, so that's well under my strength.
Nice, nice. And I did not let you do something else last time, Alba, because I'd forgotten you had 2 attacks. Is there anything else you'd like to do as it is falling?
Right, because I get the 2 attacks.
Yeah, so I completely forgotten that last time.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I only have the 1 weapon. Otherwise, I'd stab it or something like that.
Right.
Unless.
Or is there something else you'd like to do that's kind of attack-like? Or
yeah, you know what? Irin is standing right here with a pistol, right? And I can see that she's got a dagger sticking in her belt. So I think maybe I just grab the dagger out of her belt as I'm shoving the demon out the window and stick the dagger in it on the as it's going out.
Yeah, roll that attack with your strength.
Let's see how I can do that. Sorry about stealing your dagger.
Perfectly all right. I didn't want to get that close to it.
I rolled an 18, so that fails.
Oh.
Let's see.
Maybe I just don't actually stab it into, maybe I end up stabbing it into the window frame or something like that. And,
go ahead and roll a, the right file came up. Go ahead and roll a dexterity check for both of you.
I I did not make that dexterity check. I rolled a 16 against a dex of 14.
I rolled a 10 out of 14. So Irin made her dexterity check.
It's less with like a where the window was already broken. As you push it back out and it falls towards the street. Alba, you find yourself lifted off your feet by a sudden intense burst of wind. And you sort of go flying backwards. I'd like a... Although you're going to take 4 damage as you sort of go flying backwards. Irin, you're able to sort of kind of pull yourself back away from the window. Salas, you and the person you're escorting see something come flying out of a window past the guy you've been sort of watching and trying to make a broad swath around. And then you see him bolt into the shadows near the church. As you see the city watch come running up. And the governor's guard.
They're running towards the
they seem to be looking towards the thing that fell out of the window onto the ground very, very noisily.
I'm gonna tell the girl to move as quickly as she can to the pleasure houses, to the northern district, and not to stop at all.
Right. Okay.
And I'm gonna group in with the city watch.
Right.
I know most of those people because they know me from around town.
The thing below the window is stopped moving, though its wings are spread out. Its head is sort of smashed. The horns are bloodied. You can see this in the lamplight on the low levels of the buildings. The lamplight that's near the street, and then as the guard and the watch sort of converge there, they've got their own lights with them. And Idrin and Jacob, Alba, looking out the window as Nieudan sort of comes around the bed. You can see this thing is no longer moving. And you see Salas standing with the watch and the Viscountess's guard, sort of looking at this thing. And normally there'd be tension between the city watch and the governor's guards. But everyone is so shocked to see what everyone thinks of as almost like the picture perfect version of a demon lying on the street there. What do each of the 4 of you do?
I'm gonna start like poking it with my javelin just to make sure that that it's not moving.
See, Irin heads down out of the window and says, "Ho the guard, ho the watch," and makes herself known.
Yeah, I want to make sure that Nieudan is okay, and hear anything that she has to say.
Yuyan, who's normally outspoken, and firm. I mean, she's kept herself in business. Sort of pulls herself behind you. And you just hear her sort of muttering, "I have to leave. I have to leave," in Cantonese. Jacob, what about you?
Jacob is still out of breath. He just climbed up the stairs, and now the action is downstairs, and so he's looking around how he could be of any help. I mean, he doesn't speak Cantonese, but he has a friendly face and a big Santa Claus-like beard. So I think he will approach the panicked girl.
Jacob, why don't you make the charisma check? Are you just kind of like making sort of like calming gestures?
Yeah, my intention was to calm her down, but given that I rolled a 19, that probably backfired.
As soon as she sees you, Jacob, she screams. She wasn't paying attention when you came up the stairs, and she immediately moves behind Alba, and she's just pointing at you.
Yeah, Jacob shows his hands and says, "Whoa, whoa. I don't know what the girl sees in me, but I'm just a friendly rabbi. There's nothing to be afraid of."
And Alba whispers to you that they said the rabbi sent me, or they said the rabbi sent them.
And you think it's this rabbi?
They said the rabbis were sending them.
Yeah. They who?
And she points out the window. When I saw them in the street last night, they said the rabbi sent them.
The demons.
The demons, yes.
Why do you think they came for you?
They just said the rabbi sent them.
Yeah. Right. Right. We need to make sure this is a different rabbi.
This is all in Cantonese, I assume.
Yeah, we're all in Cantonese.
That sounds suspicious already.
But I can.
You can translate as well.
Right. So I can translate. So
everybody speaks the Creole patois. Yeah.
So I can switch to that, and I can say, she says the rabbi. She says those demons told her they were sent by the rabbi.
Well, that sounds far-fetched. If not to say that is completely a superstition. It's always the rabbis. Why would a rabbi send a demon? Makes no sense.
Right. Why also believe what a demon tells you?
Exactly.
Salas, you're down there with the watch and the guard who are standing looking a little shell-shocked, amazed.
Yeah, I'm poking this demon with the pointy end of a javelin.
It's not moving. It seems to be dead.
So I look up at whoever,
Make an intelligence check, though.
Intelligence check? All right.
Yeah. Or wisdom, whichever is better for you.
I believe it's intelligence. Yeah. 2 points. It's a 9, so I passed.
Nice. How close were you to your... Okay, gotcha. I see it now. It's weird. You poke it, and you don't notice it. You don't notice what it is sort of right away, but then you see that you sort of poke it, and living or dead, skin bounces back when you poke it, unless you deliberately hard poke it to break it. Even then, the shape of it sort of breaks and bounces back. Even with a gentle poking, this is pushed in. And seems sort of dry and not completely dry. It seems like crumbly almost.
So this is probably not the smartest thing to do, but I'm going to reach down and touch it and rub my fingers across it and see.
It's like baked mud.
So yeah, I'll definitely like poke into it with the spear. I want to see if it bleeds.
It actually just cracks.
Huh.
You kind of scraped it with the spear a while ago, and then you just poke into it really hard, and it just sort of cracks and starts to crumble away.
So like dirt or stone or something like
dried mud.
Yeah, so I look at the highest ranking officer of the city watch, and I'm like, what the hell is this thing?
And they're just like necromancy. It's necromancy. Make a charisma check. So let's say.
All right. That's an 8. Yeah, that passes.
Nice. Okay. They're like, this is clearly necromancy and the bringing of something not alive to life. And you're smelling that dense smell of sulfur again. Things that attack, and they're all kind of whispering together now. But the arm where you jabbed it is sort of broken off.
I was like, would the College of or the Guild of Mages, would they know something about necromancy?
They all back up. They're all sort of backing away now, and you see them making sort of wards against the evil eye. Several of them. And the closest one to you sort of comes over to you and says, we need to get the he just sort of shrugs, and he's just like, the Archbishop, Somebody in the church?
Well, if you think that's best, we'll go fetch him.
He sort of nods aggressively at you and goes running away. Irin, you can see Salas downstairs ordering the guard around as they seem clearly scared of whatever it is they're looking at with this demon, and they start backing away from it. What are you up to?
Irin was going to climb down and basically
climbing down's way easier than climbing up, so I'm not gonna ask you to roll for that. I mean, like, it's just second story.
Okay.
Grab the edge of a window and sort of lever yourself out.
She says someone sick this thing on someone in this building, and I think you need to summon someone from the Mages Guild to examine this thing and see what type of summoning ritual brought it here.
They're nodding aggressively and now, so let's say you've seen some things. Alba, I think you've got. What are you kind of doing to calm her down upstairs, Nieudan?
Yeah, I mean, I might be making her a cup of tea or something like that. I mean, there might be, sit down, be calm, the guard is here, they're going to work it out, let's just talk, and I'm going to make her a cup of tea.
Okay. Just give me a charisma check.
No. I rolled a 16 against a charisma of 13.
She slips out the door just past Jacob. And she grabs a bag that she had clearly packed and had been planning to leave with earlier and goes scuttling. And she's dressed in street clothes.
Right, so my back is turned making tea, and she runs out the door.
Yeah, she kind of turns around. You sort of like calm down, and you give her space, and then she uses that space to sort of bolt.
Did she run past Jacob?
I believe so. This is not a huge space, so definitely ran past Jacob.
So Jacob was just about to say, "Could you make that 2 cups of tea, please?" When she passes him and he's trying to grab her.
Make a strength check, Jacob.
Jesus, another 19. That's unusual. So she runs me over.
You're sort of like out in the hallway as she you reach for her and she sort of screams even louder and starts bolting down the stairs. And as you move in, her neighbors are kind of opening their doors and moving out into the hallway.
Jacob shouts to Irin, "Grab the girl! Irin, grab the girl!"
Irin, she comes out the back near where you are.
Okay. Irin will try and stop her.
Okay.
And says in Cantonese, because that's one of the languages I actually did pick. Luckily enough. Wait, miss. We've defeated this thing. We need to know why someone sent it after you so we can stop them.
She is running. Are you going to try to grab her first?
Yes.
Okay, so let's start with a strength check.
And basically speaking to her in Cantonese the whole time.
Okay.
We have a strength of 11, so let's see where this goes. No. She Irin tries to get in front of her, and she just barrels past me. Panicked.
Nice. You what did you get on the die?
16. Strength 11.
Gotcha. You kind of reach out towards her. When one of the watch members sort of like, or one of the governor's guards actually comes over and sort of like accosts your shoulder, like, leave that woman alone. You've in her apartment, you've clearly frightened her. And kind of pulls you back as Nieudan goes running into the shadows on the street.
Irin huffs and says, whoever summoned that thing sent it at her apartment, specifically. Like, that's her window. Whoever sent that thing was actually trying to get her. The last thing she needs is to run off into the night with no protection.
I believe at this point, she is...
Hey, she's gone.
Yeah, she's gone down an alley. Do the four of you want to stick around for the experts to show up, or do you want to do some investigating yourself somewhere else?
Irin wants to get back to that library because she's not going to be of much use here.
Okay. What about the rest of you?
I want to find that guy that was eyeballing me on the road.
Okay.
I don't want to stick around until the investigators get here, I don't think, but I wouldn't mind looking around her apartment like I thought, I might do. Look at her, her tally marks and her record keeping, and sort of use some of my, just to see if there's anything suspicious or informative or anything, in her apartment before I leave, before the investigators get here.
And Jacob, what about you?
So Jacob takes the cup of tea and walks slowly outside and looks over the body. And while sipping the tea, he smears the crumbling mud, and he's trying to discern if it's maybe clay or what kind of material. Is it brimstone?
So let's start. Salas and Irin, Salas, you saw the guy you were eyeballing from the street who was acting weird while all this went down run towards that Protestant church and school across the street. Though he did not seem to go inside. Or at least he did not seem to go inside the closest door.
All right. Actually, can we take just 5 real quick?
Yeah, everybody want to take 5? That sounds good. We can take 5 and then be back right at 7 after the hour.
Thank you.
Sure thing.
Sorry, my Chrome was acting up. I had to close out the call and rejoin.
No problem. Not a problem. Give me a chance to get back.
I noticed I was looking at everybody's equipment. Looks like 3 of us rolled the same thing on the equipment table, so we all have oxes and rolled up carpets for some reason.
I'm assuming you don't have those with you just to walk through
Right.
casually through the street. It's always fun. It's always fun to play in those urban games where everybody assumes they always have, you know, they always have everything with them at all times.
You mean I don't have my rolled up carpet over my shoulder? Makes no sense.
One of my home game groups recently finished a sigil campaign in which we had that great moment where we were sitting down to dinner when some enemies attacked the place where we were staying. And at some point I said, well, of course I don't have my armor on. And someone was like, why wouldn't your character wear your armor to dinner? It's like, it's dinner. You wear a black tie, obviously. All right, welcome back, everybody. So let's start. I just wanted to get a sense of Irin and Salas. You'd mentioned sort of things you wanted to do, but I kind of wanted to get a sense of what you were going across the street to the church, Irin, and you'd seen those 3 people come out of the shadows and go across there. Salas, you saw the same thing, and then you saw that 4th guy who had been with them in the alley dart across the street into the church, that you didn't see him go inside, or at least not that door that's closest to you right now. Are you both heading over there together? Are you kind of what are the 2 of you doing?
Yeah, I would tell Irin that saw somebody suspicious eyeballing me and one of the workers, and I suspect that he went into the church.
And it seemed like when he was eyeballing you, it seems like he was primarily of the like, don't look at me variety. Or why are you looking at me?
Right.
So Irin says, well, what did the guy that you saw skulking over there towards the school and church there, what did he look like? What was he wearing?
Weirdly, even though it's spring, everybody was kind of wrapped up in cloaks, and this is an unseasonably warm evening. Or it's unseasonable. I say unseasonable. It's not like the previous evenings that have been cool. This evening has been very, very warm. And they've all been sort of wrapped up heavily in cloaks.
Okay, so the guy that she saw was dressed like the guys we saw skulking into the building just as we heard the commotion.
Right. Jacob, I'd like make an intelligence check.
That looks good. 10, and my intelligence is a 13.
Very good. This is a construct of a different sort than you put together. There may be sort of like there may be something about it that is vessel-like, Jacob. It seems not in the sense of like it's hollow inside, but it's designed to be possessed. It does not have the signature signs of a golem that you normally associate with golemtry. It seems more like it's a vessel for some sort of spirit to animate. it would be evil and wrong and violate the laws of all three nations, and thus of the entire city, if that vessel for anything but an elemental of a very passive variety. Certainly no one would want to be known for using something like this to trap a ghost or a demon, though you certainly could. You have a name, a nobleman by the name of Lassard. He's one of those North Tredroyan noblemen who have a cardial title. So he's technically a baron, but his manor is in North Tredroy. Alba, you were taking a look around specifically to see what you could find in Yuyan's books. Go ahead and make a wisdom check just to sort of piece things together.
Okay. No, I rolled a 15 against a 13.
Alba,
You know, all right.
go ahead and what were you going to say? Because it's certainly
No, I was gonna try and see if I had an opportunity for advantage, but the only but I did not take the clerical stuff as a trait.
We discussed it as kind of slave you were, so I think it's.
I think it counts.
Yeah, I think it fits. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, then I will roll another d20 and we will see if I have a. That one makes it.
Nice. Okay. At first, everything seems to be in order, but then you notice the merchant guild. Paperwork, the monthly fee they charge for the associate membership that shopkeepers are supposed to pay so that they are not in violation of Tredroy law by trading things without the permission of the merchant guild, even though they don't get voting rights or anything like that as guild members. They're treated worse than apprentices, though they get to keep their shops as long as they don't get above a certain... That Yuyan is showing as paid on her the paperwork outside of her ledgers, but the fee is not coming out of the ledger.
Meaning somebody else is paying it?
Meaning somebody else is paying it. Also, until last week, it looks like Yuyan had been closing her shop on certain regular nights of the week an hour or two early. And you may have noticed this like casually, but that's not unusual. She runs a shop by herself, and if there's something she needs to do, you had not noticed, I don't think, before that it's always on a particular day.
Yeah. What day?
The rather innocuous day of Tuesdays.
Okay. Oh.
So the rather utterly innocuous day of Tuesdays. And it just occurs to you that one of the reasons that people do things at odd times on a regular basis for extended periods of time is because they're seeing someone that other people don't want them to know about.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why men and women all over the north side and the west side and the east side have rather, regular undocumented appointments.
Right. Well, I would love to track that down. Is there anything I can do to sort of, I can't imagine she has receipts, dinner receipts or anything like that.
No, but she does do most of her business in cardial money in East Tredroy. She does get coin from other bits of the city, and she has to on her ledgers keep because exchange rates vary. Not very often, but enough that that she has to document that she took in money from other parts of from other nations.
Yeah.
She's generally gotten wazifi money on Tuesdays right before she closes the shop.
So this money is from the Arabic community within Tredroy, or
there's Al-Haz, which is the much more strongly Shiites, overwhelmingly Muslim portion of the city that's technically governed by a Shiite country. There's the very, very diverse Sunni Al-Wazif, which actually has, there's the plurality of people in North Tredroy are Christians, followed very closely by Muslims. And North Tredroy is the most Christian portion of Al-Wazif, but Al-Wazif is a fairly pluralistic nation, much like Cardial is the most pluralistic of the Christian nations.
I see.
And North Tredroy is even more pluralistic than most. And it's there. The large Christian monasteries are there. The chapter house of the Knights of St. Christopher is there.
Okay. Well, that's all interesting information. I don't know that it gives me any clear task.
Right.
Okay.
And I'm warming up to our break. Irin and Salas, you're moving over to the Huguenot church and school. What's your approach? You've seen three mysterious figures go in.
Oh, Irin was going to go in the door she usually enters when she goes to get research done at the school. She's not sneaking at this point. She was going there on official business. So
right.
At least that was her cover story.
Are you knocking, or are you just kind of walking in?
Oh, she'll attempt to just go in.
And what about you, Salas?
I would just follow right behind.
You'll follow right behind? Okay, awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Irin says over her shoulder as we're going in, it's really, really odd that we all ended up in this same section of the city tonight.
Yeah. The nights have been pretty odd.
you, me, the rabbi. All, I didn't know Alba lived over here, but she was up there at that apartment.
Yeah, but the nights have been odd. This weather is just ridiculous. Snows one night and it's beautiful the next.
Yeah, things are getting strange.
Irin, you reach for the door, and I'd like you to make a wisdom check.
Okay. Natural 20. She accidentally walks face first into the door, thinking it's open.
So let's say make a wisdom check.
All right. It's a pass. It's a 4.
Pass?
You say, "Hey, maybe don't walk into that door." Bam.
Irin, what you see is you open the door. And we're getting ready to break, so I'm gonna kind of leave you guys with that. Irin, you open the door. And you find, 3 people sort of in the foyer of this space, conferring. And as soon as you enter, 3 of the figures pull their cloaks up and turn around and start sort of walking deeper into the building. And a 4th figure sort of walks towards you, Irin. Are you sort of, you've got this on your sheet, so I'm going to look real quick. You see a 4th figure turns around and is sort of dressed in that sort of non-uniform that Protestant clergy wear in sort of their official. It's kind of a quasi-academic garb. It's dark. It's sort of feature. It's nondescript. But it's got this kind of quasi-academic quality to it.
Like a graduation robe sort of thing.
Yeah, well, kind of like a standard university robe that any scholar would wear, but with just a black underneath and a standard sort of like white undershirt that has sort of a high white collar kind of coming up under the robe, and otherwise looking like an out of place, nondescript scholar at the university, and just looks at you as, I'm sorry, the school is closed. The school and church are closed. There's been a disturbance in the neighborhood. You'll need to go. I can't give you anything right now. Salas, you notice that even though they're not wearing anything that would be descriptive of their identity, you recognize the face of the bailiff of the Order of St. Christopher, Sir Emilio Pinozo.
Is he the one that's talking to us?
No, No. This is a standard Protestant pastor. He's one of the people who threw his hood back over his cloak and sort of went back further into the library school. And I think that's where I'm going to pause us because we are just a little bit before time. And I'm going to stop recording.